Hey friends, you are crafting with Kim Byers at the Celebration Shop, and today I'm going to show you how to use Cricut Design Space for all your sublimation projects. So Cricut Design Space has thousands and thousands of beautiful projects that you can then use with your sublimation printer. So let's hop over to Cricut Design Space. I'll show you how it all works, and then we'll go over to the craft table and we'll make something. And by the way, if you don't know what sublimation is yet, basically it's where you can take a design and print it. Instead of cutting it, you're printing it on a special printer on special paper, and then you're applying it to your t-shirt or whatever that substrate is with heat. So I'm going to put a video up above of how that all works if you've not kind of stepped into the world of sublimation yet. Okay guys, so let's go over to Cricut Design Space and then we'll go to the craft table, and if you've not already, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button. Let's go! We're in Cricut Design Space, and I've gone ahead and pulled in some things that I want to show you. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to take designs that are already in Cricut Design Space, and then we are going to modify them to work great for sublimation. Now you can take any of these designs. So these are the original designs that I just went into images and searched things that I thought would be cute on a onesie. And then these are what they looked like originally. And so what I want you to see is that you could do this exactly as it is and print that and put that on the onesie or whatever you wanted to put it on and not have to modify it at all. But the cool thing is about sublimation is you are printing this. So you don't have to have these patterns. You're going to print the pattern and then you're going to be able to apply it with heat. So if you look at this, so what I did is I took this design and then I applied pattern to the lettering, and I applied pattern to this cut, and then I applied pattern to this. And of course you could just change it to colors. Maybe you don't have those colors and so you're just changing it to solid colors. That works too. But I thought this was really sweet and so easy to be able to, just modify it, So once you have done that, then you print these instead of cutting them, right? Okay, so let me show you how this is done. So let's just take this one. I'm the favorite. And so it comes from Cricut Design Space, and I think it actually came in like red, and I changed it over to black. But what you do is you hop up into Operation, and you go to Standard, Print, then Cut. And then if you click on the color, you can choose Color, or you can choose Pattern. And the color is the sky is the limit, basically, because you can modify those colors. Like if you, let me just show you really quick. So if you chose any of these, and then you hit Advanced, you would be able to modify that and actually be able to put in the color code and make it exactly what you want it to be. Okay, so then you could also go to Pattern. And so there's tons of patterns in here. And if you use the filter and you know that you want this to be pink, you would be able to go in and choose a pattern. So if you look at this one over here, you can see that it is this particular pattern actually is the one that I used. So let's click off of that. And so you see how small that is? Okay, this is the fun part, right? So then if you click back in and edit that pattern, it's going to allow you to change the scale of the pattern. And so if you enlarge that, you're really going to be able to see the roses. Isn't that fun? That is so cool. So what you want to be able to do then is just take any of these designs, any design that you find within Cricut Design Space, and make it completely 100% your own. So we have the Nap Queen, which is basically exactly this pattern. And then the mom and dad, you could, if you, for instance, wanted the hearts to be a specific color or a pattern, and you wanted the little feet to be a different pattern, I applied pattern to the entire thing. If you look over into layers, you see that it's one cut, but not to worry. All you would need to do is duplicate it. Let's pull it down so you can see. And then you could go into contour and you could eliminate things, right? So let's just eliminate the little feet. And then what we would do is click off of that. And so what you could do is you could apply color or pattern to this, and then you could duplicate that again and hide everything except the little feet and apply a separate pattern to the little feet, just in the same way I showed you a few minutes ago. So don't be limited by what the design looks like or the fact that it's a singular cut. You can modify this to be anything you want it to be. Now this one I love, Sweet Dreams, and then the little giraffe on the moon. And one of the reasons I like this so much is because if you were cutting this out, there are tons of tiny little elements that you would have to weed. But if you're printing this, you don't have to worry about how small those things are, right? So what you could do is this is 2 separate cuts, Sweet Dreams, and then this little giraffe on the moon I just thought was so fun. And all I did for the giraffe on the moon is I eliminated a couple of the background pieces. White, of course, does not print. And then I didn't see any point in having this black piece as well, so you can open that back up and, well, you can see. But basically, if you opened both of them up, it would, look exactly like this. So I just turned off elements that I didn't think needed to print. And then I changed Sweet Dreams to this little fun blue color. And so you can modify these to be anything you want, and small does not matter, and pattern does not matter because you're printing it. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm actually only going to print one of these and put one of these on a onesie, and I really want to do the little giraffe. I'm going to do this for my sweet little baby niece, and I just think this is absolutely darling. Okay, so let's turn everything off, and then I will show you how to send this to your printer. Okay, so now we're only left with this one element, so let's just move it up into the corner. And I do want to show you this really quick. So if you were cutting this, not only is it small, and so there's a ton you would have to weed, but if you look over into panel or into your layers, look how many different cuts this is. This is actually a color, a color, a color, a color, a color. And so not only is it small, but it's a lot of different colors that you would have to manage. But what we want to do is we want to take both of these, and my onesie is roughly 7 inches across, so I don't want my design to be any larger than 5. And then I really don't want it to be any longer than 5 either, so I'm just going to increase it just a little bit, so it'll be about 4 inches. Whoops, grab both. 4 inches by 5 inches, so that's going to work perfect for my onesie, and I think this is good. The placement is good. And so what I want to do is I want to grab both of those, and I want to change them to print then cut. Let's do them one at a time, actually. Let's grab Sweet Dreams, and then we're going to go down to print then cut. So you see how that turns it. It doesn't have that outline anymore, which is a cut. And so then we're going to grab our giraffe, and we are going to turn that to print then cut. Okay, so now that we have turned both of these to print then cut, what I want to do is I want to use my shift key. I want to grab both of those, or you could go over into layers and grab them both, and then I'm going to attach them because I want them to print as one design. Okay, so we are attached to our maker, or you could be using your Explore. Again, you're not actually going to cut anything, but you can't drop down and use the Joy because the Joy doesn't do print then cut. So let's hit make it. And so see, now it's on the sheet, and so basically what we want to do is we want to print on our special sublimation paper, and it is going to print this outline, this box outline, because that's what Cricut would see as, the printable, the cuttable piece. But we don't have to worry about that. All we're going to do is trim that off once it prints. So the last thing that we want to do before we send this to print is we want to go over and mirror our design. So all sublimation needs to be mirrored. Okay, so now let's hit continue. And it's just searching for our machine, so I went ahead and connected it. Even though I'm not going to be using my machine, I just went ahead and connected it so that it will finish setup. Okay, and so now what we're going to do is we are going to send it to printer. Now, when you get to this piece, I like to use the system dialog box. Okay, let's start at the top. We're going to select the printer, which is the Epson, which I converted to a sublimation printer. Again, the video is available for you to learn how to do that if you want to. We do not want to bleed, so we're going to turn that bleed off because, again, bleed is when it gives you like an outline of your entire design so that when it cuts it, it doesn't accidentally cut and leave any white space. So that bleed is just something that Cricut will add to the design for actual cuts. So we don't want that for what we're doing today. And then I want to use the system dialog box because I want to be able to get the best possible. Let's move this down just so there we go. So I want to be able to look at each of my pieces. I don't want black and white, obviously. And then my media type, my quality. This is what I want right here. I want to hit best so that I'm getting the prettiest or the best ink distribution for my design. Okay, and so now we're just ready to print. I've printed my design to my sublimation printer. So at this point, I can cancel this because I'm not going to select a base material and I'm not going to cut it. So we can just cancel out of that, and let's go over to the craft table and let me show you how this all works. Okay, so here we are on the craft table, and these are the things that I'm going to be using today. So I have my paper trimmer and my ruler. I have my sublimation blank, which is my onesie. I have a lint roller and my sublimation paper. And then I also have heat transfer tape. I have my Easy Press 2 and my mat, and then this is the design that I printed out with Cricut Design Space. And again, we are going to trim out that interior design. And then I also have butcher paper, and so we're going to use this to protect not only our machine but the interior of the shirt. So let's just move everything out of the way and we'll go ahead and cut out our design. Okay, so we're just going to take our design and we're going to trim off that bounding box, which is what Cricut uses to identify areas that it needs to cut. So we literally just want to get rid of the black box. And I use my paper trimmer just because it is so precise and easy to use for things like this. Okay, so once we have this all trimmed out, there we go. We can just move this out of the way. And then what we want to do is we want to take our onesie and we want to lint roll it. So it is extremely important that you lint roll your t-shirts, that you lint roll everything, candidly, because if you don't, you could get little pieces of lint on your t-shirt that will then, the ink will actually press and stick to the lint. And then unfortunately, when you pull off your design, then you're going to have, the ink is going to come off, of the lint once you wash. And so it's going to look speckled, and we definitely do not want that. Okay, so now that we've done that, the next thing that we want to do is we want to go ahead and take our mat and we want to preheat our shirt. And this is only for a few seconds, guys. So we want to set it down and just preheat our shirt for a few seconds. Okay, and then the next thing that we want to do, and this is so easy, we want to take our design. I'm just going to use my ruler and make sure that I get it good and centered. We want it to be perfect, right? And I think I want my design to be more on her kind of like tummy area. But we just want to make sure, and this is another reason that it's important to like have the same distance, all the way around. And I should have talked about that a little bit when I was cutting, just because I want to be able to center the paper since it's flipped upside down. I want to make sure that I'm able to center that design knowing that I have the same distance all the way around. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to put it about right there. And so when I look, that's 1.5 and that's 1.5. Okay, so we move that out of the way. And then we're going to take our heat tape and we're just going to put a little bit of tape all the way around our design. We don't want anything to shift. You can get what they call ghosting, and we definitely do not want any ghosting with our design. And that just means that it kind of shifts when it's in the heating process. I'm gonna put another little piece up top. Okay, and so we have preheated our Easy Press to 400. Oh, one thing I can't believe I almost forgot, guys. So it's super important that we're going to put butcher paper inside of the shirt because we don't want the ink to go from the front of the shirt to the back, correct? And then we also have some butcher paper that we're going to put in between the design and our press. And so Cricut recommends 3 sheets for infusible ink, and so we're going to do the same thing for our onesie. We just shove that down in. So that's underneath our design, and since we taped it, we don't have to worry about that, having shifted. And then we want to lay it on top. Okay, and then we're going to take our easy press. And actually, I'm going to change this to 60 seconds. And now we do not want to shift it. We don't want to move. Hold it completely still. Okay, and so then we want to lift straight up. And then we can go ahead and take off our butcher paper. And it's really, really warm. So I'm gonna give it a second to cool off just because it's too warm to touch. And then we'll do the reveal. Okay, so now we can just take off our tape. Oh my goodness, guys, look how perfect that is. Oh my goodness, I am so excited. And so we can take that design all the way off. And so you see most of the ink came off of the paper onto the onesie. You can pull out that, and it did not bleed through, which is fantastic. You know, the sweet thing about using sublimation is that there is nothing to scratch the baby. I mean, it is literally just as soft as the onesie is. Okay, so what'd you think? So that was a lot of fun, right? You didn't have to have all of those colors. You just had to be able to print them on the printer on the special paper and then apply it with heat. So I am really excited about sublimation projects, and I love all of my iron-on and all of my other things, but this is just another way for me to be creative and do exactly what I want to do without necessarily having to run down to the craft store to get the latest pattern, or a pattern. I can print a pattern that doesn't actually exist in iron-on. So I hope that you will hop down in the description below and check out all the things that I used here today. And if you have any questions about what we did, please leave them in the comments below. I want to help you enjoy your crafting. So if you guys haven't already, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.